New scheme will allow more talent from Greater Bay Area to come to Hong Kong. Number of privacy complaints shot up last year. China's rescue team arrives to help after Turkey earthquake. Hello and welcome to TVB News. Beijing has announced a new multiple entry visa to enable talent from the Greater Bay Area to travel to Hong Kong and Macau from February 20th. Eligible candidates will be allowed to stay in the two special administrative regions no longer than 30 days each time. Christy Khan reports.
A new multiple entry visa scheme will be rolled out to professionals working in the Greater Bay Area, allowing them to travel between the mainland, Hong Kong and Macau multiple times from February 20th. According to the announcement by the National Immigration Administration, professionals working in 6 particular fields such as science and research, academia, health and law will be eligible to apply. The scheme will help promote the development of the Greater Bay Area as well as allow mainland talent to conveniently engage in scientific research and academic exchanges between the regions. Top talents such as Nobel Prize laureates and fellows of top academies will be able to apply for the 5-year multiple entry visa. Candidates working in science and research, academic and health sectors are eligible for the 3-year visa. Those involved in law and other categories will be able to apply for the 1-year visa. The visa holders can visit Hong Kong and Macau multiple times with a maximum 30 days of authorized stay each time. However, eligible candidates from categories other than top talents are required to provide supportive documents, including proof of employment and professional qualifications on their visa applications. An economist in Hong Kong believes the new visa policy will help bring more investment to the city while stimulating consumption. Christy Khan, TVB News.
The Office of the Privacy Commissioner for Personal Data reported that it received over 3,800 data breach complaints last year. That's an increase of 15% from the figures in 2021, with the majority of the incidents involving cases of doxing. The privacy protection body also criticized the Hong Kong Institute of Bankers after conducting an investigation into its leakage of the personal data of more than 100,000 individuals. Timothy Lee reports.
Privacy intrusion has become commonplace in the modern world, particularly in Hong Kong's hyper-digitalized society. Back in 2019, the Hong Kong Institute of Bankers was notified by a firewall manufacturer about a threat from hackers who could obtain sensitive personal data, including account names and passwords. But even by 2021, the institute did not heed the advice from authorities to update its operating system or take proper data security measures, which led to a serious data leakage crisis. By the end of the year, the personal data of over 13,000 members of the HKIB and about 100,000 non-members were leaked. An investigation by the Office of the Privacy Commissioner for Personal Data found that 6 HKIB servers containing the personal data were attacked by malware, with a hacker responsible threatening to upload their contents to the internet unless a ransom is paid. Ada Chung, the Privacy Commissioner for Personal Data, criticized the Banking Institute for inadequately managing data security risk, adding that the HKIB is primarily responsible for the data leak.
And for Hong Kong IB, whether the service provider is liable, please remember that under the PDPO, under the ordinance, the party who is responsible for the handling of data is the data user. And therefore, in our enforcement work, we would issue the enforcement notice to the data user. And the prime responsibility rests on the data user as well.
Meanwhile, the PCPD revealed that over the last year, it received a total of 3,848 complaints, which was a 15% increase from the previous year. Over 1,700 cases involved doxing, the act of publishing private information of a particular person on the internet, also saw an increase of around 70%. As of now, the PCPD has initiated more than 100 criminal investigations and have conducted a total of 12 arrests.
In view of the increasing number of residents affected by data breach incidents, the Office of the Privacy Commissioner for Personal Data published this leaflet detailing recommended data security measures. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
The city's largest national security trial involving 47 former pro-democracy figures continued today. Spotlighted today were defendants such as former reporter Gwyneth Ho and ex-lawmaker Raymond Chan over their roles in the so-called 35-plus unofficial primary election. Jackie Lin reports.
Day 4 of the city's landmark political trial. Among the 47 opposition activists facing subversion charges, 16 pleaded not guilty. 10 defendants were granted bail earlier, including Clarice Yeung and ex-lawmaker Raymond Chan. The hearing again began with the prosecution's opening submission, and taking center stage this time was former journalist of the now-defunct news outlet Stand News, Gwyneth Ho. Citing her election manifesto for the 35-plus primary runoff election, the prosecution said Ho mentioned revolts were needed to change the fate of Hong Kong, as the national security law had laid siege to the city, and she would use her prospects, body, and life to resist the state apparatus. The prosecution added Ho mentioned in another video that winning a majority of seats in the legislature could force a new political situation, one that's unacceptable to Beijing. On her social media page, Ho was said to have promoted the idea of mutual destruction of the government and resisting the mainland's Communist Party with international communities. An article she wrote for the Los Angeles Times urged people to revolt with courage. Another defendant was Raymond Chan. The prosecution said that then lawmaker mentioned in interviews how the 35-plus poll is good for sure and called for dissolving LegCo and ultimately the stepping down of the city leader. He was among the election hopefuls who signed a joint statement pledging to abide by the plan of the primary polls and veto the government's budget if elected. Former lawmakers Leung Kwok-hung and Lam Cheuk-ting, also accused of subversion in the case, did not sign the statement. Still, the prosecution said Lam wrote how he agreed with vetoing the budget in his notes for election debates, while Leung Kwok-hung mentioned he did not sign the statement because it would just be a repeat of his intentions. That statement was drafted by opposition politicians, including localist Owen Chow. Apart from promoting Hong Kong nationalism at election debates, Owen Chow was said to have asked lawmaker hopefuls to be psychologically prepared to paralyze every LegCo meeting through any means possible. At the West Kowloon Magistrates Court, where the trial took place, a window pane near the front gate was damaged. It's understood police found a small hole in the glass wall, allegedly shot through by a projectile from outside the court. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
Television Broadcasts Limited has issued a voluntary statement concerning a recent rumor. The company stresses that it places the utmost value on corporate governance and rejects suggestions that the company has undermined shareholders' interests. The statement is in response to allegations of a lack of transparency in the governance and trade agreements of mainland video streaming platform MyDuiDui, which is effectively controlled by TVB through subsidiary TVBC. Strongly denying the allegations, TVB says the financial results of MyDuiDui are accounted for in the company's consolidated accounts. This as TVB enjoys the full economic benefit of MyDuiDui, and the platform is not operated for the benefit of particular directors. The company adds it reserves the right to take legal action against parties spreading false and malicious news about the group. The death toll from earthquakes that struck Turkey and Syria is almost at 16,000, with around 3,000 of those on the Syrian side. Turkish officials say some 13.5 million people were affected in an area spanning roughly 450 kilometers. But anger is rising in both countries among victims who say aid and rescue are slow in arriving. Nazvi Karim reports.
Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan is trying to stay calm amid a devastating crisis for his country. His government is without sufficient resources to conduct rescue efforts for one of the worst earthquakes to afflict Turkey. And he is being blamed, with those left homeless and cold hitting out at the slow arrival of rescue teams, despite an international effort. On top of this, Erdogan faces an election in May. The Turkish leader, who visited some areas to view the damage, has admitted to inadequacies, saying, "We are better today, we will be better tomorrow. We have some issues with fuel, but we will overcome those too." Across a swathe of southern Turkey, people sought temporary shelter and food in freezing winter weather and waited by piles of rubbish where family and friends may still lie buried. In some cases, cries for help can be heard, but loved ones are helpless to do anything. These men in Hatay are saying that they are suffering, appealing to anyone who can hear to help them. In Syria, relief efforts are complicated by an internal conflict that has split the nation and wrecked its infrastructure. Earlier this week, Syrian leader Bashar al-Assad said American sanctions have slowed down aid reaching places where it is needed. But US President Joe Biden said America's thoughts and prayers are with the people of Turkey and Syria.
In Syria, the U.S. is supporting humanitarian partners who are responding with equipment and assistance and have been conducting urgent search and rescue missions from day one. The United States is a leading donor across all the areas of Syria, no matter who controls the territory. It's about saving human life.
Here, people celebrate after a child is pulled out of the rubble in Aleppo, Syria, as rescue efforts continue in both countries. For Erdogan, meanwhile, the disaster poses a challenge to his re-election hopes, set to be the toughest fight of his career. Any perception that the government is failing to address the disaster properly could hurt his prospects. Some analysts, though, say it could work in his favor if he is able to rally national support around the crisis. Nazvi Karim, TVB News.
China's rescue team, which arrived in Turkey early Wednesday morning, got straight to work supporting the Turkey-Syria earthquake relief effort. Shortly upon arrival, the 82-member Chinese team joined a local rescue team to save a pregnant woman from debris in Hatay, Turkey. Experts warned that rescue efforts have faltered due to weather conditions and power outages around the affected regions. Also, Chinese enterprises in Turkey offered assistance to help with earthquake relief, including making donations and sending supplies to the area. The Red Cross Society of China has dispatched a rescue team with medicine and medical supplies to Syria, which was also affected by the earthquake. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is in Brussels today, joining the European Union summit as he aims to lobby EU leaders for more modern weapons to fight against Russia's invasion of his country. This as Zelensky made whirlwind visits to London and Paris, seeking support from both countries' prime ministers. Tracy Furness has more.
Ukrainian President Zelensky and British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak visited Ukrainian troops under training at an army camp in Dorset, southwest England on Wednesday. England was Zelensky's first stop on only his second trip abroad since Russia invaded Ukraine on February 24, 2022. He previously visited Washington, D.C. Zelensky is looking for fighter jets, and Sunak said that nothing was off the table, but the first step would be to train the pilots.
When it comes to fighter combat aircraft, of course, they are part of the conversation. Indeed, we've been discussing that today and have been previously, and that's why we've announced today that we will be training Ukrainian Air Force on NATO standard platforms. Because the first step in being able to provide advanced aircraft is to have soldiers or aviators that are capable of using them. That is a process that takes some time.
Britain has trained 10,000 Ukrainian troops brought to battle readiness in the last 6 months and will train a further 20,000 soldiers this year. Last week, Ukrainian troops arrived in Britain to learn how to command Challenger 2 tanks, which Sunak said would be operating in Ukraine by next month. Zelensky later visited Buckingham Palace to meet King Charles. The King told the president that, "We've all been worried about you and thinking about your country for so long." Zelensky thanked the British people for supporting Ukraine since day one of Russia's invasion. Zelensky's next stop was Paris, where he met with French President Emmanuel Macron and German Chancellor Olaf Scholz at the Élysée Presidential Palace to discuss wartime needs in Ukraine. Macron paid tribute to Ukraine and its people for their courage and commitment while expressing unwavering support for Kiev. Macron said France made new deliveries of defence equipment to Ukraine recently and will continue the effort to do so. Macron and Zelensky left for Brussels Thursday for the EU summit. Zelensky is expected to lobby with EU leaders for support to help his country turn the tide against Russia's offensive. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
Back in Hong Kong, the Education University of Hong Kong is working with 6 Cambodian universities in a World Bank-funded project to enhance education in the Southeast Asian country. Mimo Sangai tells us more.
This group of students are from Cambodia. Not only that, they are Doctor of Education students at the Education University of Hong Kong under the World Bank's Higher Education Improvement Project, with a mission to develop teacher capacity in Cambodia's higher education. Among them, Myth is the newest student. She believes the skills and knowledge she obtains from the program can benefit herself and her students in Cambodia.
I hope and I believe that after joining this program, I could strengthen my teaching and learning ability, especially integrating technology in my research interest, and 2, strengthening my research ability. After I graduate from this program, World Bank project, and also the EDD program in EDUSK, I believe that I can put all the new technique and methodology into my subject, that is writing paper or scientific writing.
When asked about the difference between studying in Hong Kong and Cambodia, another student, Rolf, said Hong Kong has better resources.
When I first arrived, I feel that everything is like a wonder, because everything, like all the resources are readily available. You just have to ask, and you just have to access the resources, as compared to the resources I had at home, which was limited, and also we may need to propose, for those resources.
Meanwhile, Cambodia's Director General of Higher Education, Mak Noi, described the project as a strategy policy for the Cambodian government, hoping it can promote the country's higher education teacher capacity and economy. The principal of Edu Hong Kong, Stephen Jern, said not only does the partnership with universities from Belt and Road countries help teachers to enhance their skills and knowledge, but it also allows talent to arrive at the campus, fostering a diversified environment for all students.
The university's graduate school has admitted 81 master's and doctoral program students from Belt and Road countries since its establishment. Apart from Cambodia, other countries include Pakistan, Indonesia, and Malaysia. Mimosa Nai, TVB News.
That's the news. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.